Now, next I want to talk to you about creating a referral engine. And if you're interested in knowing more about this, there's actually a newsletter that you can Google online made by another entrepreneur called CEO Confidential. And he sends out a monthly newsletter teaching people about how to create their own referral engines. What a referral engine essentially is the ability to get your clientele or other services and other businesses to do the talking for you. Now, this is going beyond just word of mouth. When we have word of mouth, it's great, but you have to wait for it to sort of fall out of the sky that somebody refers your hotel or your service. And unfortunately, you have no control of when that happens, and you may not even know when it's happening. I mean, a great deal of your clientele, I'm sure, are coming to you through word of mouth already, but how many? It's hard to really know that for sure and to quantify that number. So if you want to go beyond just word of mouth, we need some sort of tangible kit that we can provide people with that they want to give out. It's not just that they're giving it out to sort of do a favor for you. We want them to actually want and have it in their best interest to hand it out. So for an example of that, let's say you are running a hotel that has a beautiful banquet space for weddings, and you assign one of your property staff members to record a podcast or a YouTube series of you interviewing local wedding photographers, local wedding planners, perhaps different people that make cakes or catering, or these kinds of people that are necessary for a wedding to happen in your community. If you were to be interviewing all these people and they are proud of their interview and they are happy about the information that they just supplied because your questions that you just asked are helping their potential clients, well, you just gave them something that shines the best light on them, not just your own property. It really shows off that person involved in it. So now they've got a video or an audio clip or something that they can take and show to their own clientele. And maybe they'll mail it out to their list of 100 clients. You know, maybe they have 50 clients, maybe they have more, maybe they have 200 clients that they're gonna send this out to on their email list. And they're all people getting married in your community. Just imagine how much that could do to help fill up your banquet space. And if, let's say, in that video they were being interviewed within your space, then every time that they're showing off that video to their own clientele, they are also showing off your venue. And it's not just the clients they have today. If it's a really good interview and a really good piece, they're probably going to show that to every single client they'll ever have from now on. So this is a way that you can sort of burrow your way into someone else's business. I'll give you another example. Let's say you are a business that let's say your hotel is really an expert in culinary experiences. You know, maybe your local restaurant or the restaurant built into your hotel has an amazing Michelin star chef or something along those lines. And you want to attract foodie clientele. And it's great to attract those kind of clientele because not only do they like to show off to their friends back home and get them to know, like, and trust your business, but they're also seasonal travelers. They don't necessarily come in the high season because the beaches are great. You know, they might be coming for a particular food festival or when a certain fruit is in season or those kinds of people. You know, there's people that are very, very specialized in the culinary world. That's actually my hobby, so that's why I'm speaking a lot about that. So if you want to attract those kind of clientele, perhaps you do something where you're interviewing local food producers and you have a whole series on your local winemaker and your local cheesemaker and the local farmer and the local honey keeper, a beekeeper, and these kinds of things. And so if they're thinking about staying at your hotel, you can provide them with this YouTube playlist or perhaps an audio playlist or whatever it ends up being. I prefer video. I think video is the most powerful impact. you can provide them with all this so that they can get excited and they can get really happy about this trip they're about to make, and all the cheeses that they're going to try, and the wines that they're going to try, and the local beer that they're going to taste. These kinds of things mean something to that kind of clientele. So really, really think about the clientele you're trying to attract, and then think about the other businesses that that clientele would like to use or needs to use, and find ways that you can be implementing your business into them by providing them with something they want to show off. And the more you can do that, the better. Okay? So that's the referral engine part of things. That's how you go beyond just word of mouth. Now, next I'm going to talk to you about the perfect customer lifecycle. And the perfect customer lifecycle is something that was introduced by a software company called Infusionsoft. Now, I don't work for Infusionsoft. I have no affiliation with Infusionsoft. They don't pay me. It doesn't really matter to me if you use that company or not. I just want to give them credit for them creating it, so you don't think I made this up. Now, Infusionsoft has this model that they use for all the clientele that they bring into their company. Basically, what their service does is it helps you with automating your communication to your clientele so that you don't have to actually pick up the phone and email everybody and do those kinds of things. It makes very customized touch points with your clientele that feel very human. They don't feel like they're made by a robot, essentially. Okay, so back to the perfect customer lifecycle. So the typical business owner will try to attract their clientele, then they try to sell to their clientele right away, and then they just repeat it over again. That's it. Attract the clientele, sell to them, deliver the service, and then recycle. So in a business like a hospitality industry, you're getting clientele to get to your website, they book their own reservation, and then you provide them with the room, and they go home, and you just move on to doing it again and again and again and again and again and again. Now the problem is with doing that is that you're missing out on opportunities that you may not necessarily be seeing. And you really have to think about them in your marketing efforts in order to engineer them into your business. So now when you try and get your customers to get to know you through your advertising efforts, instead of just jumping straight into making a purchase, if they do that, that's great. Don't get in their way. If they see your website and they know, like, and trust you right away and they're ready to buy, just let them do it. But there's going to be a lot of people who are not ready yet. They're the people that are browsing. You know, they've decided that they're going to take a vacation in Italy, but they're not sure which hotel yet. So what you want to do with those kind of clientele is to nurture them. And in order to nurture them, we first have to capture their data. We have to have a way that they're following us or that we are communicating with them. So typically, the way that you do that is you offer them something really good in exchange for them to pay attention to your email or your own social media or your YouTube. So for example, if somebody came to your website, and once I explain this, you'll see a lot of businesses doing this. They come to your website, and maybe if they join the newsletter, they get 10% off their first purchase. That's one way to do it, is just by handing out a discount. Now, not all businesses like to hand out discounts, obviously, and especially not in a time like the pandemic now, when business is really hard for everybody. So instead of necessarily giving out a discount, what you could do is give them some sort of a guide or a freebie of some kind. Like maybe you give them the ultimate guide to Mykonos restaurants. Or maybe you are based in, let's say, France, and you've buddied up with an incredible museum so that everyone who comes on your website, they get a discount to that museum. That's something that somebody might download if they're traveling to France. Why not? It's a freebie, it's easy to get. All I have to do is just sign up for this thing, and I get something that will help me out. So think about ways that you can do that. What can you provide me as a visitor to your website so that I will stay in communication with you instead of just browsing to the next person's website, the next company? Really try and do that. And if it's something that's really, really good, that clientele are really interested in, then they're more likely to sign up for it. So now that we've captured their data, what we want to do, where most companies will go next, is trying to sell them right away, but that's a mistake. Don't try to sell people right away. Instead, work on developing more of that know, like, and trust. And we do that through something called nurturing our clientele. So instead of just necessarily going straight to the sale, what we want to do is we want to educate them and give them something that they love continuously, so that when they're ready to buy and the money is right and the circumstances of getting the right flight is correct and all that kind of stuff happens, then the first person they think about is this company, because now they really know and like and trust your property more than anyone else. So you can do things like, let's say if you're attracting people that are interested and have expressed interest on your website in, let's say, a special event or a wedding or whatever it may be, you give them more information about that stuff in a way that's really enjoyable. A quick little 30-second tip about things to think about when you're traveling to Greece. Let's say your hotel's in Greece. Or maybe it is some quick language tips. Or maybe it's a guide to Euro money for people that aren't from the EU. Or maybe it's some guide to the best restaurants. Or maybe it is you make a reservation available to anyone who's interested in your property. They can have some concierge services in advance of their trip. Those kinds of things, they don't have to cost you a lot, but they really go a long ways to getting your clientele to know, like, and trust you over other properties. Okay, so we've attracted our clientele, and now we have captured their data, and now we have nurtured them. Now we try to sell them on our services after that step, and that's done through an online shopping cart, online reservations, or a phone reservation, whatever it may be. And then what most businesses would do is they would jump straight to fulfilling the order. We're not going to do that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to try and go for an upsell. So in the sales process, the number one email that most customers open is confirmation emails or receipt emails. So if, let's say, they've made a reservation at your website and they get a receipt in their email or a confirmation, clientele are so likely to open and check that email. It's beyond any other email that a business sends is the one that has a receipt or their confirmation, because they want to make sure they were charged with the right price, and they want to make sure that they're getting what they paid for. So in a customer's perspective, that is the most important email to open. Now that email is also an opportunity for an upsell. So perhaps in that email there is a service that they can book, a massage or a spa day, or maybe they can upgrade their room right through that email. Some sort of a little bonus of some kind that earns your business a little more money and also gives the client something at perhaps a discount that would cost more down the road if they were to wait while they're on their trip. And these things add up. If you think about, let's say, maybe you have, 10,000 guests in a year. I'm just making up a number, I don't really know. If you have 10,000 guests in a year and suddenly 2% more people book spa services, this adds up a lot. So the opportunity to do an upsell is in that confirmation email and make it something that people that are coming to your property already would be interested in, and something that you can discount. It is really critical that's a discount, because you want to make them purchase it then on the spot rather than waiting until they get on their trip. Once they've gone on their trip, they've already booked many things. They're perhaps have spent quite a bit of their money. They've bought their clothing, their luggage. Money is starting to become something a little bit more difficult, and the best time to make a sale for an upsell is coming at the time that they get the confirmation email. Okay, so now the next step after that is to fulfill your service by giving them a really great stay at your property. And obviously you are the experts in that. I don't need to teach you about that stuff. That's things that hotel managers are already good at. But after you do that, the next step before you go and take your next customer is you want this customer to leave you a review or to somehow refer your business. So a review is a really good way to do that. Social media is a fantastic way to do that. The more you can encourage people to create buzz back home, so that, let's say they're traveling to Greece and they tell all their friends in New York City how great their Greek trip was. We want to make people at home envious about this person's vacation. And the more envious their friends are, the more likely they are to come. And like we said before, birds of a feather flock together, so we know that their friends are much more like that person. So if they can influence their friends, they're far more likely to come to use your service. So I hope that's really helped you out and given you some things to think about during the pandemic for how you'll take your marketing steps in the future. So start off by getting your clientele to know, like, and trust you. That's the Holy Trinity. Start working on building referral engines, so other services will be referring your name left and right. And then also think about those missing steps of the perfect customer life cycle, particularly capturing people's data, nurturing your prospects, upselling your clientele. Those are the 3 parts that are most often missed. Thank you. I hope that you benefited from this. Thanks a lot.